What's up? What's up, everybody? It's We
Welcome,
Talking
everyone.
About Sports.
Got it.
Got it. Go ahead, Ron. Go ahead.
Gotcha. Technical
Lead us in.
difficulties.
Lead us in, big guy. I'm ready.
Go for it, go for it, go for
We're
it.
following your lead today. Week 3. We got the 3 boys, 3 out of 4 here. Justin, take us in, man. I'm excited for the show this week.
Yeah, we got a short show today. We're just gonna go over some, best bets, a little fantasy action, a little dead or not dead segment, which is gonna be fun. Ron, I just gotta ask, week 3, how you feeling, bro? How's week
Well,
3 treating you?
The dead or not dead segment is definitely pertinent to the case right now, because me and Justin watched the Texas Longhorn game last night. Had a few too many happy dads. Had a few too many
A
Miller
few
Lite.
too many.
So right
Michelob.
now, hey, we're feeling kind of dead or not dead, man. But I'm alive, and I'm ready for week 3. Hasn't been,
The first thing I texted Ron, I said, Ron, you live, bro? Because you
bro.
went all out, man.
I know we're in the group chat and we're like, okay, like 10 o'clock, right? We're starting at 10 o'clock, boys, and then 10 turned into 10:15, and then here we are at 10:30. But nonetheless, we're here.
I feel like this happens to us every season, Ron. Like, we go out sometime and then Sunday gets affected because we're all out, partying. This seems to happen, and it seems like it's happening earlier in the season every year at this point. You know what I mean? Normally it's like week 8, week 9, we start fading away. This is week 3, and we're already, struggling to make it at this point.
Hey, but we're here, and we have some good information today as far as fantasy goes. I know it's been rough out there. There's injuries all over the league. We'll start off with the slate here. So we already had the Jets and the Patriots game happen. Some good 12 o'clock games, man. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There was 10 last week, so you were kind of busy on that NFL. What's that show, Justin? The Red Zone. Yeah, the Red Zone. There was about 10 games going on. Anything that stands out here for you, man, from the 12 o'clock games all the way to Monday?
You know what? I'm going to talk about Monday night. Look at Monday night, Ron. There's 2 Monday night games.
Oh, that's right.
What's better than 2 Monday night games, honestly? That's top tier.
3?
3? That's 2. But the only problem with Monday night games, like when they're stacked like that, you do need 2 TVs because they do run at the same time, and you're having to flip from ABC to ESPN back and forth. But I mean, I'm glad that we're getting 2 Monday night games, bro. I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, every week, the Cowboys. I want to know if we're real or not. So we'll find out. Ben, which game are you looking forward to the most? Are you looking forward to that double header on Monday night?
I'm excited for it for sure. The late game, we know the Bengals are kind of in desperation mode. Talk a little bit about Survivor. I think they'll be a popular pick this week. For me, it's the battle of the 3-0 Texans and the Vikings. I'm really looking forward to that. Honestly, yeah, and I mean, not to sound biased, but I think that the Texans defense can make Sam Darnold look like the Sam Darnold we all know, right? Not this guy who's having, this revelation, has the Vikings at 2-0, similar to what Derek Carr's doing over there with the Saints. They have one of the highest offense in NFL history. And I mean, we've talked about Carr on this podcast extensively, and the fact that we weren't going to die on his hill, and here he has the Saints looking amazing. So I think we see some guys come back down to reality this week, and I do think Sam Darnold is going to be one of those guys.
Any concern because they've seen the Niners defense, that vaulted Niners defense, and made it through that? Any concern that maybe they are a little more for real than you're going to give them credit for?
No, I mean, they might be. They might be. Jefferson is playing for them, got a little banged up last week, but the line is Texans -1.5. It's going to be a tight game. I'm not saying the Texans are going to blow them out or that's what I'm expecting. I just think that this is where we might see Sam Darnold come back down to earth.
I got to agree with you. This is the 1 o'clock game that's probably the most must-watch game. 2 undefeated teams going at it. A lot of question marks on the Viking side to see if they're for real or not, because no one really predicted them to be 3-0 at this point. Nobody.
You know what game I'm excited for, guys? That 4:25 or 3:25 for us. We're Central. That Cardinals and Lions game, bro.
It's another good one, bro.
We're going to find out if the Cardinals are for real. Kyler Murray's balling. We saw what Marvin Harrison Jr. did week 2, bouncing back from week 1. Sleeper team, man. I mean, they can be sleepy good. I don't know how great their defense will be the entire season, but their offense seems to be clicking. James Conner is solid in the backfield. And I'm excited for that 3:30 game, bro. I think Ben's got to play on that later on in the show. If you guys stay
Yeah,
tuned,
I'm
he'll give it out.
I'm backing the Cardinals until Call of Duty comes out next month, and
That's the key, because Call of Duty comes out and Kyler's done.
yeah,
That's the key. That's a smart man. Listen to him.
All right.
All right, let's do a little segment this week called Dead or Not Dead. Basically, guys, I'm going to give you a list of players that are already dead or are drawing dead. And I'm going to give you a chance to say, you know what? Let's not dead them just yet. I'm going to breathe life into them. They're still going to be okay.
hopefully you have a picture of Mark Garza up here. No,
Here's the list. We got the Broncos as dead right now. They're 0-2. We got the Bengals 0-2. The Rams 0-2. Ravens 0-2. The Colts 0-2. Daniel Jones' quarterback career not looking good. And the guy who just got benched after his second start in his second season, Bryce Young. And we already know Anthony Joshua completely dead yesterday. Guys, give me a team that you're gonna say, you know what, just pump the brakes. Not dead yet. Here, we're gonna give him life. We're gonna give him some life here. Who is it, Ron?
You want us to pick somebody from here that's
revive them. Say, you know what? Don't put him dead yet.
CPR, Ron.
Give him CPR, life support. Who's it gonna be?
The Heimlich.
Shit, I was about to go get my cap, but I'll put it on next week. My Bengals cap. I'm all in.
Not dead yet. Okay.
Bengals to me not dead. Yes, they're 0-2, but if Jamar Chase doesn't act like a dumbass and get that 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty, they probably beat the Chiefs. So give me the Bengals for my not dead yet completely.
All right. Ron is giving life to the Bengals. Ben, who will you give life to? You can choose the Bengals as well, unless you want to go out on a limb and say Bryce Young's career is not over if he finds another team. What are you going to do?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's when you look at the teams, I mean, there's some teams that are the Rams, big injury problems. We got Marky in the comments saying the Rams are dead, and he's a Rams fan. So I would agree with him. I'm not going to bring the Rams back. Although they have a game today against another team that, they lose this week, they might make the dead or not next week. The 49ers roster is literally dead at this point. Yeah. But they'll probably lose again today. I'm going to bring back the Ravens in the same division as the Bengals, both of them 0-2. I think that we see one of these two teams still make the playoffs. Right now, we also have the Steelers sitting at 2-0. I don't think anybody expected that. They're at home against the Chargers today. Another battle of two teams that nobody expected to be 2-0. But either Ron took the Bengals. I'm going to go ahead and take the Ravens. Okay. Although the Ravens, have a tougher matchup this week. Mark's talking about Ravens win today. We know that they play the Dallas Cowboys. Both of those teams a little desperate right now. The Cowboys 1-1, the Ravens 0-2. So if the Ravens lose today, they might be dead. But for the sake of the segment, I'm going to go with the Ravens as the team that can best possibly be brought back.
What about you, Jess? Who's your pick?
I'm going to go with the Bengals as well. 0-2. I think they should be at least 2-0 at this point because that touchdown I got robbed from them when Gesicki scored, that the refs took it away. And last week, if they don't fumble and the Chiefs do that return and scoop in the score, and then Jamar Chase not doing the 15-yard penalty, I think you got Bengals at 2-0 right now. So I'm going to give the Bengals life and say they are not dead just yet. All right, let's move over to the
Man City boys live update.
Let's move over to the not dead list. We have Deshaun Watson. After week 1, everyone said Watson's done. He's dead. He's the worst quarterback ever. People were saying that he's a better person than he is a quarterback at this point. And that's really bad because he's a really bad person.
Wow.
The Cowboys, 1-1. Not dead yet, but they're on life support. Caleb Williams. He had a really tough showing against Houston. Didn't even pass for 100 yards against Tennessee, but they got the win. He's 1-1. The Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love being hurt, they're 1-1. Kirkle was written off week 1. He gets the win week 2, so he's not dead yet. And the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, there was a lot of questions about him after week 1. He couldn't find Marvin Harrison Jr., but he's back. He's 1-1. Which of these teams with 1-1 are you going to put the coffin on? You're going to put the nail in the coffin on and say, you know what, just dead them. They're pretenders. They're just hanging on by a thread. Ron, who are you going to dead?
Tough choice here. You have some really good options, but fuck it, man. I'm just going to say it. The Cowboys. To me, I don't see. Fuck you. I've been saying this since the beginning of the year, since preseason. I mean, what are you doing? You know, you're not getting any better. You're throwing money to players that don't deserve it, and it goes to show. I mean, the offense didn't do much week 1 when we won. They put up a lot of points, but the team that we were playing wasn't great, and the defense had several turnovers, right? So then you go into week 2 thinking, well, offense isn't great, but defense is, is going to win us games now. And then the Saints just blow you out by like 30. So the offense isn't doing well. The defense is not consistent, and the coaching staff, to me, doesn't know what the hell they're doing. Management doesn't know what they're doing, bringing back Zeke, and I don't know, these fucking scrub ass running backs they elevated from the practice squad. Dallas Cowboys are dead this year. If we get 7 wins or 8, that'll be a lot to me. I'm calling it an overreaction, but that's my take.
Putting the nail in the coffin on them. They say they're dead.
Yeah, I mean, and you love to see it. You know, you wait all year for the football season to come along, and week 3, you're done on them. After 2 games, the season's over. Like he said, next week I'll have my Bengals hat on. You know exactly where he's at, and like it's pretty crazy.
He's seen the writing on the wall before. He knows what it looks like.
I didn't even want to throw the jersey on today because that's how bad, like, fucking.
He knows the trajectory because he's seen this year in and year out. I don't blame him at this point.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, what about you?
I'm going to predict Roland comes back next week singing the exact same tune if the Cowboys lose to the Ravens. If they lose to the Ravens, I think Roland comes in and puts the nail in the coffin on the Cowboys next week. Just my prediction. For me, I'm going to go with not dead or with dead. I'm going to go with everybody's favorite. And again, Marky hating in the comments, but this guy went and drafted this whole offense on his fantasy squad, and he's regretted it big time. The Chicago Bears, bro. Yeah. The Chicago Bears O-line is not good. This rookie quarterback, he has a lot of height. 100% not going to win Rookie of the Year. And just the fact that they thought – I mean, we have seen some rookies come in and automatically take a team, there. We saw it last year with CJ. But Caleb Williams, I mean, he's not that guy. And the Bears just have a little bit more things to fix before. I'm not saying he'll never be that guy. I'm saying as a rookie, he's not that guy to just take the team straight to the playoffs. They were in a favorable division. They have another game today against a pretty desperate team in the Colts and Anthony Richardson. I mean, that is a defense that has been giving it up. Anybody that plays the Colts has been scoring. So if Caleb Williams doesn't go off today, like of all days, this is one where it's a 50-50 game, one that you got to have. If you're going to make the playoffs, you got to beat a team like the Colts that was on our dead screen, last slide. So I'm saying the Bears are dead this year. No playoffs for the Bears.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the easy pick here, and I'm going to go with the guys that have the injured quarterback and choose the Green Bay Packers. I think even when young Love was healthy, he was still struggling in that first game, and you cannot win 2 or 3 games with Malik Willis as your quarterback. So I think their trajectory is going to be already on the low, and by the time that Caleb Love gets back, it's not going to be good. They're going to be in the slumps.
I mean, well, Caleb, I think Caleb Love's going to be back
Jordan
Love's going to be back a little sooner rather than later. They were talking about him possibly playing this week. I agree with you that Willis is not the guy, but I mean, they still not even squeaked out a win. They took the Colts down last week in a game that nobody expected the Packers to win. So he already,
but what kind of performance did Willis have? It was like 12 passes he attempted.
It was running back. It was running back stuff. I get it.
You're not going to be able to do that week in and week out with him.
If Caleb Williams, no, I don't think that's why I'm saying I don't think that they're going to have to go week in, week out. I think we might see Jordan Love play next week, as early as next week. So,
and how healthy would he be? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying with the injury at the main position, QB. I got to dead him. Now. I still think the Cowboys have a chance of making it because the NFC East is weak, and I think with the North.
And like the Packers today, I mean, they're without Love, but they play the Titans.
Yeah.
Kind of a winnable game.
It is. It's a winnable game. But I just don't see them making the playoffs at this point. I think they are going to go down. All right. We'll see how that pans out.
Hey, shout out
Let's
to Diego.
Let's get into it.
Steeler Nation showed up today. Marky, what's up? You've been with us since we started. And Eduardo Martinez. Shout out to Eddie, always with us as well. Thanks for watching.
He's on
boys.
YouTube now because he's not on Facebook anymore. So
Hello, the
Glad to
Facebook
see
he got in
check
friends.
trouble.
Hey, Eddie, I was going to tag you on something on Facebook. It doesn't have to do with football, but Kikuchi, since the trade, I know you weren't too happy about it, Eddie. 9-0. 9-0.
hasn't lost yet.
Shit. Diego saying props to LaFleur on that win. That was a coach's win.
Let's get into this one with Ben's week 3 must starts. You got
Fantasy,
Brandon
baby.
Ayuk, Kyler Murray, and
Nice.
Tank Dell. Ben, tell us.
Yeah, for my must starts, I'm gonna start at the top. Ayuk, he's been a guy that you probably drafted as wide receiver 2, or if you went running back, round 1 and 2, he might have been your wide receiver 1, but he hasn't been up to standard so far this year. We know that he was holding out. They said he was on limited snaps week 1. You got Christian McCaffrey out. You have George Kittle, who's now been ruled out, and you got Deebo Samuel out. So I think this is a big Ayuk week. I mean, Brock Purdy's going to have to throw the ball to somebody. I know a lot of people like Jennings. He's the number 2 or 3 receiver that sometimes gets some love. He should do all right today, but I got Ayuk at least getting in the end zone once today, and I'm thinking 80 to 100 yards. So Ayuk is going to be wide receiver 1 material this week in my eyes. And then Kyler Murray, didn't pick him in that dead segment or not dead. I think that Kyler has a real good matchup today against the Detroit Lions, who, I mean, yes, Hutchinson's going to be on his ass, but that should also push him out of the pocket and make for more rushing yards. His rushing yards prop set around 35 yards. That's already 3 points extra that they're saying you're going to get just from his rushing yards. We saw him hit Harrison last week. McBride still hasn't had his boom game, so that might be coming. I like Kyler Murray today as a QB1, and then Tank Dell, another guy that maybe you've been flexing in some leagues, and maybe now you're like, man, I'm not going to flex him anymore. No Joe Mixon today. No Damian Pierce. You got Cam Akers coming back from the dead. You know, this is like his 5th time coming back from the dead. But I see a big CJ Stroud game today. I think Stroud airs it out a lot. You know, test that Minnesota Vikings secondary. I think we see a lot more 3 wide receiver sets, and that would mean Tank Dell gets on the field a lot more. So I think Tank Dell is a good flex. Marky says, should I start Dell instead of Higgins? Higgins is like wide receiver 2. Tank Dell's a flex option. Higgins has been out, says he's 100%. First game back makes it kind of iffy. I would still go Higgins over Dell just based off the matchup. They're playing the Washington Commanders. That defense gives it up to everybody. You saw what Baker did to them. You know, he threw for 4 or 5 touchdowns. So I would still go Higgins over Dell, but I think Dell is a legit flex option this week.
Shout out to Roland in the chat, man. Hey, he's on vacation. He didn't make it today, but he's still showing up. We love to see it. We got some questions. as well.
Yeah, man, let's get to the questions in the chat.
We got Kyler Murray over Baker Mayfield. You have Kyler Murray as your must start, Ben, but there's an option that he has Kyler Murray or he can start Baker here. What are you doing?
I would go Kyler. I got Kyler up here. I mean, Baker does have a decent matchup against the Denver Broncos. We know that Asante Samuel, probably going to be shadowing Mike Evans. Mike Evans might be a sneaky bench this week. We know that some of these guys that get shadowed, I remember he had a thing where anytime he was playing the New Orleans Saints, he would get shadowed by, what the hell is his name?
Marcus Lattimore.
And he would have, 2 catches for 14 yards type games.
And they would get into it like Andre Johnson and Cortland Finnegan, man. They hate each other.
Robert, I would go Kyler Murray over Mayfield this week. You drafted Kyler. You picked up Mayfield on the waiver wire. I know he's been going off. This is a 51.5 for Kyler Murray is the total with that Lions and Cardinals game. I see Kyler getting at least 3 touchdowns today.
Bet. Let's get to Ron's must 3 starts here. He's got Godwin on the list. He's got Brian Robinson Jr. and he's got Joe Burrow. Ron, explain why these are your 3 must start players this week.
All right, so Chris Godwin, we've already seen what he did in week 1. 22.3 points. Week 2 came back 24.7 points. The quarterback that Robert and Ben were just talking about, Baker Mayfield, has been exceptional this year. And he's getting it to me. He's getting it, in my opinion, more to Godwin than he is to Evans. And as far as going against the Broncos today, I think Surtain is over there. versus Evans. So that might be
PS2, Patrick Surtain.
That's
yeah,
what
man.
I
So
was saying
that's
was going to be on Evans. Yep.
yeah, so that's gonna be tough for Baker to move the ball to me to Evans, so he'll focus more on Godwin. The whole world's talked about it now that Godwin's in the slot too. He's a lot more dangerous, and they are playing the Rams, boys. The only thing is the game script. To me, I'm worried that they might get a little bit of a lead out there, but regardless of it, I mean, if you can get his projected points at 17.5, that's a good day, and I'll take it. I'm moving on to Brian Robinson Jr. This is the Monday night game, man. I have my two picks. They're playing against each other. I think we're going to see some fireworks there. Jaden Daniels versus Joe Burrow. So for B-Rob, 14.2 points projected, 17.9 week 1, and 14.6 week 2. He is sharing the backfield with Austin Eckler. However, he is not just running the ball, but he is having some pass catching chances back there as well. So to me, I saw this guy play because I mean, you're not going to sit down and look for the Commanders game, right, to watch. But when you watch Red Zone, it'll show you all the plays. And dude, this guy's good. He's just a good athlete overall. He's big, he's strong, and he's one of those sleeper guys that can win you weeks, and that'll lead you to win championships. So I like to do it a lot. If I can try to trade for him, I actually wouldn't mind because I think he's just one of those solid guys that you can ride all year. And then last but not least, Mr. Joe Burrow. Week 1, he only had 8 points, but week 2, he came back with 17. He's getting Higgins back. Gesicki has, I don't want to say revamped his career or anything like that, but he looks like he could be another weapon for Burrow. Monday night game at 7:15. The Bengals always start slow. Let's just face it. I mean, they never come out of the season, hot, and they kind of like progress a little bit. If they could get a running game going, that would help Burrow too with play action and things like that. But regardless of it, I think he's back. He will be back week 3 fully. I want to see him play on Monday night, and I think he has a really good floor. Projected at 19 points. So, I mean, if you get you that projected points, bro, anytime you can put up 20 from a QB that doesn't have that mobility like Lamar or Kyler to go get you points with his legs, you got to take it, man. So those are my must starts for week 3.
Good point. He does use a lot of his tight ends, so Gesicki's career has kind of seen a revitalization.
Yeah, I think when I was talking about Mike Evans being shut down, okay, you can go back to that slide real quick, Just. I just wanted to give a couple of 2 cents because I like the picks and the angles that Ron took here. Tehran's, please. The Bucks are playing Denver, so I think I said Samuel, but I meant Surtain will be on Mike Evans. So it might be a tough day for Evans setting up Godwin. Godwin's already been going off. You got to think if the top DB for the Broncos is going to be shadowing Mike Evans, that means it's a big Godwin game. I like that because Godwin is a guy that people are maybe flex option. Now you can slot him in at possibly wide receiver too. That's how good of a play he sets up to be this week. Brian Robinson was a little scared with Eckler. Eckler is the third down back. But like Ron said, Robinson's still getting those receiving opportunities on first and second down. Jaden Daniels isn't scared to check down. So he's been surprisingly a guy that you can slot in at RB2, for now 2 weeks in a row. And then the Burrow one, everybody's back and healthy. T. Higgins says it's a go. True. Jamar Chase got to be feeling some type of way after that boneheaded stuff that he did last week. This is at home for them on Monday night. I mean, this has blowout potential. We have seen the Washington Commanders gave it up to Daniel Jones last week. Him and Neighbors had career days,
Yeah.
So big week for Burrow. I like it, Ron. I like the plays.
Thanks, pal. I like
Little shout out to Roland. He had Neighbors on his must start of the week, and Neighbors was a boom last week. So shout out to Roland for picking that one.
If you watched the show last week, Roland was all over Neighbors. So if you took his advice,
I'm glad I was in Houston. I'm glad I came on that show because in throughout the podcast, I ended up benching Olave, who I drafted, a couple rounds ahead of Neighbors, 4 Neighbors, and Neighbors went off, bro.
Bro.
Yeah, Roland was all over that.
To bench one of the guys that you drafted early for that.
And Olave didn't have a bad game.
That's good fantasy management, pal.
Yeah, Olave ate on the Cowboys, so
yeah. But Neighbors.
I'm glad you listened to Roland.
Yeah.
Paid off. All right, let's go to the flex zone. We got 1 and 1. One for Ben, one for Ron. Ron, tell us your flex of the week.
Shit, Rashid Shaheed. Say that 3 times fast, man. Rashid
Rashid
Shaheed.
tongue
All right,
twister.
so he's going up against the Philadelphia Eagle defense. We saw what happened to the Eagles late in the game versus the Falcons. Kirko drove the Falcons down the field in like under a minute or some shit like that for the walk-off victory there. Rashid Shaheed versus that defense should eat. They're susceptible over the top, and that's exactly what he does. He's not a guy who's going to go and get you like 10, 15 targets, anything like that, but he has that big playability. Week 1, boys, 16.3 points. Week 2, 20.9. The thing that nobody's talking about in New Orleans is how great their offensive line is. If you can give Derek Carr that much time to throw, he's gonna piece you apart. If you can make it to where Derek Carr isn't having to run around and scramble and just read the field, he's gonna pick you apart, and that's why he has Shaheed. And that offensive line gives him time so he can run those long routes. So if you have somebody that you need to flex, Rashid Shaheed is your guy.
All right, Ben, what about you?
Yeah, for me, this was a guy that I went to week 1, Zamir White, running back for the Oakland Raiders. It didn't go too well week 1. We saw last week they upset the Ravens, and Alexander Madison had gotten the touchdown, I believe, in week 1. I'm going back to Zamir White, listening to Antonio Pierce this week. I caught an interview of his on Twitter, and he was saying, we gotta get Zamir White 20 carries. We gotta get him 20 carries. So in hearing that, I'm thinking, he's an old school. He's a guy that played. He's a guy that understands. He was a linebacker, understands what the run game means. I'm taking Antonio Pierce at his word again. They got a favorable matchup this week against the Carolina Panthers, who you think if everything goes as planned, the Raiders will jump out, have a lead and lead throughout the game, work the run game, meaning 20-plus carries for Zamir White. I think with 20-plus carries, he can see the end zone once. So I'm starting Zamir White in every league that I have him this week at either flex or RB2, and I'm banking on at least over 10 points this week, boys, from Zamir White.
There we go. Little question from the chat here. Fellas, if the Eagles lose today, are they done for the year?
No, I don't think so, because once AJ Brown comes back, they're going to look like a totally different offense. It's always been the defense over there, man, to me.
Yeah, I'm not ready to say that either. I think that they possibly could lose today. I mean, last week's loss was an all-time bad loss for them, bro. Jason Kelsey in the booth on Monday night, helping call the game, and then they implode
in a Philly
like
tuxedo,
that.
bro, and they let
Big
him down.
John in the house.
Yeah,
Big John.
there we go, Big John. I don't think that they're out. I mean, they haven't lost a division game yet. So until they, if they were 1-2 with 2 division losses, maybe you could get me to buy in on they might be done. But nah, without AJ Brown, we saw what they can look like week 1 when Saquon Barkley went nuclear. So I think, again, a big rushing game today for Jalen Hurts. If anybody out there does the DraftKings, the props, whatever it is, Jalen Hurts had a big rushing night on Monday night. I see another one today.
All right. Let's get into the best bets. This is going to be our last slide for the day. Anybody in the chat that has a bet that they want to offer up, let's hear it out. Best
or
bets.
if you have any fantasy questions too, put them in the chat, because after the best bets segment, we're gonna go. We got our own lineups to worry about and Survivor pool.
That's stuff to tinker with. But let's get into Roland's best bets. He's given us 2 props, and last week he was absolutely fire with the props he gave out. So let's listen to these. It's Brock Bowers touchdown anytime plus 200, and Tank Dell over 3.5 receptions this week. Ron, take it away with your best bets.
All right, Tampa Bay -6, man. I think that they keep it going. They stay undefeated, and it might not be a blowout or anything, but I think that they cover, and they are at home as well. So I'm not going to go too much into detail. It's just they're playing well, and I think a touchdown is easy, something they can cover. You can push, with maybe a late field goal at the end there, and then Las Vegas and that can't be the Rams. Did I do a typo there?
Las Vegas and Rams parlay.
Okay, that's wrong. It's Vegas, and I'll get back to mine. Ben, go ahead and go. There's no way I fucking pick the Rams, because that was too many happy dads last night. Maybe do a little typo.
We've been through it.
Yeah, I'll get to mine. I got 4 on mine. I'm going with Houston. Like I said, we find out a lot about Sam Darnold tonight. give me the better quarterback, and I don't think that anybody's going to say Sam Darnold's a better quarterback than C.J. Stroud. So give me the better quarterback. I know it is on the road, but I think that we have the better defense as well. Houston -1, and then Cleveland -6. We know that they went down pretty ugly to the Cowboys week 1 at home. Then they bounced back last week, got a win. They go back home. They're facing, the New York Giants and Daniel Jones. I see them relying on their defense. A lot of Jerome Ford today as well, as they're up early and often. Give me Cleveland -6. That Arizona and Detroit game should be fireworks. If you have fantasy football players for both of those teams, I think that that's one you're going to want to tune into. It's in the later window, less games, so that's going to be a fun one. And then give me Kansas City and Sunday Night Football. They're going up against Captain Kirk. I think it's a letdown spot after that win that they probably shouldn't have gotten last week against Philly. Chris Jones wreaks havoc. Kirko in the pocket hasn't looked very well under pressure. He didn't get sacked once last week against Philly. All day in the pocket to throw. Give me the Chiefs -3 in primetime tonight and in a dome. So also, if people have a Worthy from Texas, I know he had a big letdown week 2. Big letdown week 2 for him. But this game right here in turf might be a Worthy game tonight, boys.
All right, let's get into the chat here. We got Donald or Purdy for fantasy. What are we rolling with, boys? Purdy's got a lot of injured players around him. Darnold 3-0, but they are going against the Texans where they are not favored. Ben is saying Purdy is your answer. Ron, what do you give here?
Yeah, same for me, Purdy. And just to touch on that game, I had the Raiders and the Niners. The Niners are playing the Rams. I put the Rams by accident. So
Raiders-Niners parlay.
Yeah, Raiders-Niners parlay. And also, guys, somebody to look out for that we didn't talk about. I was thinking of flexing him. Jauan Jennings, man. I think he's a guy who's gonna get an opportunity today. If you have him on your squads or you stashed him, I think today might be the week. He's the guy who caught the touchdown in the Super Bowl. And Purdy, to me, kind of looks for him as not a security blanket.
Jennings for sure. Even like I said, in a DraftKings or in Price Picks, Jennings' number is going to be like in the 40s. So, hey, we got Luis in here.
He's got Jaylen Warren or Steele, Carson Steele, the running back from the Chiefs, the one that just got put into place.
Or Javonte Williams. Broncos running back, right? Playing against the Bucks. Man, that's tough. That's kind of a lot of Mudero, Luis.
I
know last week you said you were going to hold us accountable, and I mean, last week we were spot on. That's tough. That's tough right there. I'm going to go with Steele just because I have the Chiefs scoring often today, and for them, I mean, I know Pacheco has come out to be great, but it seems like if you can just plug in a running back that runs hard there, they can get in the end zone. So I would go Steele based off of those options you have there. Warren is playing against a tough Chargers defense, and he's the number 2 running back behind Najee Harris. Williams is the starter, but it hasn't looked pretty for the Broncos. I'll go with Steele.
You got to go with Steele because Andy Reid had faith in him last week. He fumbles the ball, but he still puts him in afterwards. And honestly, they don't have a lot of other options with Clyde Edwards-Helaire being hurt. And Kareem Hunt just got to the team. I don't think he's going to be ready just yet. So Steele seems like your better, safer bet of those 3 at least. But there is slim pickings where you're at. So good luck with those 3, man. That's a tough one. Ron?
Yeah, I'll make it a consensus, man, on Steele. They are going against the Falcons. Ben has them to not just win, but to cover. You could see the game get a little ugly, and they're just going to be running the ball at the end. So you could get a garbage time fourth quarter TD from him. And the other guys, I mean, Warren, I don't think he'll have the opportunity to score. And the Broncos are away at the Buccaneers. And that's another game where you would assume that the Broncos are going to be trailing. So they're not going to, want to run the ball to try to come back. So to me, you got to go with Steele there, man.
He's saying is Kareem Hunt starting for the Chiefs. Robert, I don't think he's going to start yet. He might not even see the field to this week.
Yeah,
it'll be a little bit before he does.
Don't quote me. I did pick him up in a deeper league that I'm in, but it was kind of like a next week pickup. But I don't think that he got activated for today. So no. And Luis, no, not Edwards. I mean Steele, bro. Está cabrón, but Steele.
Any chance
And-
Darnold pieces the Texans apart, Ben?
I don't think so, bro.
I mean, they are at home. There's a chance. I'm not going to say there's not a chance. He's looked decent, but the Texans have a pretty good secondary, bro. They have a decent pass rush.
Lassiter and Stingley showing out, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Man.
And JJ's not like 100%.
And it sounds like you're worried about even thinking that way. It sounds like you are a little concerned about today.
I think it would be like more Aaron Jones that would get us rather than Sam Darnold. So I think that if they got us, it would be on the ground rather than through the air.
Maybe Sam Darnold just needed another team, a different look. The Panthers, the Jets, those weren't the right choices for him.
I mean, we got some people believing in Darnold also. Luis is saying Darnold will get over 300 today.
Edgar on the comeback. Stingley is going to be shadowing JJ all day.
Hopefully. Hey, let's talk a little bit about Survivor here. I know we all still have an entry in Survivor. Ron, last week you escaped with the Chiefs because
shit, bro. Dude, Chiefs and Ravens were my 2 picks for last week, and we already know what happened with the Ravens.
Had a lot of people go down with the Ravens.
Gosh, bro, that was wild.
We had some people go down with the 49ers as well. They unexpectedly lost to Sam Darnold. Mm-hmm. We had 1 or 2 people go down with the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night as well. So we're down to 16 entries. From 65 original entries, battling for over $1,000, 16 entries. Ron, you and I came in with 2 entries. I know Roland did as well. All 3 of us down to 1 of our entries. You want to share a little bit about your thought process this week and maybe where you went with it?
Do you want to know my thought process so you can know who to pick or what?
No, I'm locked in. I'll go first. Go first.
I'll go. I actually took the Bucks, man. I've been talking about them all week, talking about them all podcast. I'm going to take them at home, and hopefully they don't let me down, man, and stay undefeated and keep me alive in the Survivor pick. So Bucks over the Broncos at 12 p.m. So I'll know early because if I'm still surviving or not.
That was my initial pick too, Ron. But then I moved over because Ben convinced me and telling me when are the other times you're going to be able to pick the Browns. The Browns playing the Giants. This is your shot at picking them. And Survivor can last a while. It can go a few weeks. So he got me convinced. It helped me out last week, and I'm going to run with it this week.
Yeah, originally my thought process was Bengals or Bucks. A whole lot of B's this week. Bengals, Bucks. I ended up going with the Browns.
And
Bucks and Browns.
The Bengals is probably the best spot because they're at home. They're getting T. Higgins back. Everybody's going to be healthy. I just feel like that's going to be the most picked team this week in Survivor. And if you look back at the last 2 weeks, the Bengals were the most picked team week 1 against the Patriots. Went down and lost. The Ravens were the most picked team last week. Went down and lost. I don't think the Bengals go 0-3, but damn it, I'm going to root for it because I know there's going to be a whole lot of entries on the Bengals. I went ahead and passed on the Bengals. I know that they play in a tougher division against the Steelers, the Ravens and the Browns. But the Browns, for that same reason, they have the Giants here. They lost their home opener to the Cowboys. They're coming back to the dog pound, 1-1. I don't think that they go 0-2. I don't think that Daniel Jones can beat that defense in Cleveland. So I'm backing Deshaun Watson. I'm going to the massage table, and we're going Browns this week to get us to survive.
A well-massaged Deshaun is a different Deshaun, so.
Yep, look, Edgar said the same thing. There we go.
I don't know, man. For as crappy as that Giants team is, to me, it's just going to be one of those games that you see them coming out in like a walk-off field goal or something. Hopefully not. I'm not rooting against you, but I just can't have that much faith to say my Survivor Series depends on the Browns. Yes, they are playing the Giants, but I just it's hard for that to come out of my mouth, man.
Hey, it's hard to have faith in the Browns. It's understandable.
And I think another popular pick is going to be the Bills. The Bills play at home Monday night against Jacksonville. We've seen
Jacksonville's in the dumps.
Jacksonville's 0-2, blew that lead week 1. Although 0-2 makes them a little desperate. I'm not going to even tell you that I thought about the Bills as a pick. I know Roland and Marky were talking about it, and Roland said, the Bills don't play the Patriots until November, December. So you kind of just got to hope you're still in the contest by that point till you can use the Bills again. so that this was a pretty decent week to use the Bills. I think they're going to be another popular one. And then we didn't talk about it, but it's kind of been a fade the Panthers trend for some people. And the Raiders are another team that if you're going to use them, this might be the week to use the Raiders, and maybe when they play the Broncos later on down the line. But
yeah,
are you all ready to just Andy Dalton pump?
Yeah, how much life can Andy Dalton breathe into those Panthers? Because, you know, if you look at the PFF grades, you're looking at the O-line. Supposedly, they're not a bad O-line. It's just that that's how bad Bryce Young's been.
What's that stat that you brought up? They have one of the best O-lines, right, or something?
Yeah, supposedly they only have like one hurry over the last two starts, like and like almost maybe like 2 or 3 pressures allowed, like that they were actually doing pretty decent at the time. But I mean, if you've seen the Bryce Young plays, like he's in his own head. He's scrambling when he doesn't need to, and he's like doesn't get rid of the ball on time. Dalton's a veteran. He's been around the league. How much more serviceable can he be to those Panthers where you're like, you know what, I'm not going to go on the tour of picking against the Panthers every week because you know what? Dalton might just get one. You know what I mean?
And long shot too is OG Adam Thielen. There was a couple plays that they showed last week where he's just wide open and Bryce didn't look his way completely, just ignored that.
He's getting frustrated.
So, I mean, you have Adam Thielen who, you know, can maybe help you out a little bit. Chuba Hubbard, whatever his name is. I mean, there's not great pieces, dog, over there in Carolina.
Deontay Johnson.
They got Xavier Legette.
Yeah. There's not great pieces.
Andy Dalton. I could look. I'm not saying the Raiders.
They can put it together one week.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that the Raiders maybe could escape like by a field goal. You know, Crosby is the heart and soul of their defense, and he was questionable to play today. Although I feel like he's always on the injury report. And that guy needs to be like on a stretcher not to play. He'll probably play. He'll probably play, but you don't like seeing it. So I didn't even think about the Raiders just based off the new QB change, and it just might spark something, you know, with the team.
It's one of those things you want to see a week or two of to say, you know what, it's still the same old Panthers, or you know what, they got some life.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, man.
That's all I got, boys.
Yeah,
it's it for us too, man. Well, it was a good Sunday, week 3, giving you some time to go in, mess with those fantasy lineups, tinker with some bets. We appreciate everybody who came through and showed out. And we'll see you again next week. Hopefully. I don't see us partying that hard again, so we'll be here next week.
Yeah, Justin, I don't know if you can go back-to-back weeks. Catch us on Tuesday. We will do the waiver wire show. Shout out to Roland and Justin for holding that down this past week. So if you want more fantasy information, you could always go to our social medias too. We're always posting breaking news, injuries, things like that. So catch us Tuesdays for the waiver wire show, and then Sundays around 10 o'clock, 10:30, más o menos. We're going to be on around there. So,
all right, peace.